All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So last night I did a video on Milton Friedman doing a Q&A back in the 80s, 90s. And now I'm doing a video of Thomas Sowell in the 90s talking about his book, The Vision of the Anointed, which I haven't read it yet, but I actually have it. I started reading The Conflict of Visions first before I started reading The Visions of the Anointed, two separate books. But we're about to get into this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we're watching. Now let's roll it.
Vision of the Anointed, the vision of the Anointed. How do the Anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways, but I think the main thing is they believe that you're not merely in error but in sin. In other words, they can't believe that you're just mistaken. You must have sold out. You must be something warped about you.
Do people think you sold out because you're conservative?
Oh, some do. Some do. I'm always fascinated with that phrase. First time I heard it was at Cornell University, and I attacked the president of Cornell University on the front page of the New York Times. I wondered, now, if I'm selling out, who am I selling out to if I'm attacking the president of Cornell University? What brownie points will I get for that as an assistant professor on a 3-year contract?
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone could attest to this if you happen to be a conservative or Republican or your politics line up right wing. Because you've come to this conclusion, people, without even asking you how you came to that conclusion, without really wanting to find out for themselves, will call you a sellout. That's the unfortunate reality of going against the grain. You know what I mean? And just seeking out truth for yourself and not just listening to wherever culture points you or the media points you. You will be labeled a sellout.
That's not good. Yeah.
No. And the other thing that always gets me is that the people who are supposed to have sold out typically have less money than the ones who are making the accusation. Years ago,
That's always true.
I remember some student wrote to me and I said, what you need to do is make a list of all the blacks on your campus that you think have sold out. And then make a list of those you think you have stood up for the right thing, you see. And then alongside each name, put down the name and model of car that they drive. And then see if you want to reconsider what you've just said.
Now, I got to say that is very true. You know, I'm a fan of Jesse Lee Peterson, and he has a book called Scam. I didn't get to read it. I haven't bought it yet. But you'll see that, like he just said, they call conservative sellouts and Uncle Toms and everything like that. But when you look at the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, the Maxine Waters, the civil rights activists, race hustlers, they making bank, and they've been making bank for years. So how does labeling Thomas Sowell as a sellout make sense? To sell out, you have to get paid. You know what I mean? Like to sell out, you have to be bought. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence that he was bought? There is no proof. There is no evidence. It's just a claim. It's a claim made out of emotion. It's a claim made with nothing, with no substance to actually back it. It's just all emotion.
But you know, when the liberals don't agree with people, they classify them as mean-spirited.
Oh, yes.
For the rich. Let me give you some classic liberal comments about conservatives. You guys are for the rich. You guys only care about the rich guys. Answer that. How do you respond? Liberal says conservatives only care about rich people.
Well, one of the things I go into in the book is that the whole notion of rich is ridiculous. That most Americans don't stay in the same income bracket, even for 1 decade. So the same guy who is, quote, rich now was 20 years ago probably in the bottom 20%. I mean, I was on a cruise recently, luxury cruise, and the guy said, you know, if someone had told me when I was growing up that I would end up on a cruise like this, I would have said, get real, man. You know, that very few people are in that same income bracket the whole time. Right. The genuinely rich and the genuinely poor, I would estimate to be no more than 3% of the American people.
Really?
Put together.
Really?
Yes.
Genuinely poor. Now, I'm seeing numbers like when they were talking about health care, they said, 30 million people couldn't afford it or something? That's
several million of those were making more than $50,000 a year. So it's not, see, this is one of the things the Anointed do. They never believe that people make choices. There are people who have the money. They prefer to put that money into a BMW rather than into
a lot of young people didn't want health care. They were betting on their health.
Absolutely. And then this allows them to buy more stuff they want to buy. So it's not a question that they couldn't afford it. It's a question they don't choose to spend the money.
Just to piggyback what Roger said to Thomas Sowell, they definitely do say we're for the rich, but conservatives aren't for the rich. It's not about being for the rich. It's just about being a hard worker. The majority of wealth, the majority of people's wealth is made once they really hit their stride, like, 35 and up. Once you become a man, you become more established, man or woman. Once you grow up, you become more established and, in your field of work, once you become more credentialed. But it's not about being for the rich. It's just about not being lazy. If someone is in poverty, let's just say, and you notice over time that he started his own business, he's grown his income, and now let's just say he's a bit wealthy. He's in the top 20 or 30%. You can't criticize him and say that he's rich now or that he doesn't know the struggles of ordinary people, because he worked his way up to have that money. So when people on the left, when leftists look at conservatives and say that we're for the rich, or when leftists look at conservatives who have a little money, or just people that have a little money, blue collar people who work hard, and say that they're rich, discounting all of the work that they put in to acquire that said wealth, it's just a ridiculous claim. It's not about being for the rich. It's about being for the hard working. I would say that's definitely more of an accurate way to describe conservatives. We're not for the rich. We're just for the hard working. But the left gets taken advantage of by the rich. And that's what they don't realize. They complain about the rich all the time, but they still buy the rich iPhones. They still buy all the rich people technology that they make. So,
what about mean-spirited? Conservatives are mean-spirited. They're bigots. They don't like people.
Well, one of the things I tell people say, you're a very tough person. I'm not tough. Life is tough. I'm merely trying to acquaint you with those facts.
What kind of a father were you? Tough?
Well, now, I've never done a poll among my children, fortunately, probably. But I have been called the last of the Victorian parents.
Oh, really?
Yes. I am not one who believes that the kids should be given unlimited indulgence, and I think I can safely say that mine were not.
Were you too tough? In other words, did they rebel? Don't kids go through a rebellious period? How did you deal with that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just
said, "Here's what you should do," and
that's it. When the kid's away in college and he's not and he's messing up, I simply say there'll be no more money.
That's good.
Yes, it sort of
gets their attention.
Absolutely,
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Back in the '60s, Lyndon Johnson announced a war on poverty. Am I wrong? But there are more poor people. I mean, in other words,
today than there were then. Yes.
Yeah, there are more poor people.
Yes.
I mean, this was a hell of a war. We lost it apparently because for the
war on poverty, war on crime, war on drugs. Whenever these wars are waged, just like he said, you'll notice that it always ends up being worse.
Yeah, there are more poor people.
Yes.
I mean, this was a hell of a war. We lost it apparently because for the last 30 years we've been dumping money into these poverty programs.
Oh, absolutely.
Where's the money go?
Oh, it supports a whole industry of people who run those programs, who talk about those programs, research those programs, bureaucrats, and so on.
Doesn't help poor people.
No.
I went to Harlem in the 60s when John Lindsay was mayor of New York. And, there's some things needed fixed, and they talked about fixing them. And so everybody voted for these programs. You go up there today, you've got the same problem.
Oh, yeah. You've got them worse in most places.
And that's also why I like watching these older videos, because you get to have a look in the past and see that the conversations that they have aren't too off base or aren't too off topic from the same conversations that we have in today, except for nowadays, when you compare it to back then, things have gotten progressively worse. But it's good to see where you come from so you can know where you are now and where you're going to be headed. But this video is 30 minutes long, so I'll leave this in the description for you guys to watch yourself in its entirety if you want. It was nice to hear him talk about his parenting and his kids. I never heard Thomas Sowell even mention his kids. I didn't even know he had kids. But don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on your way out the door. Till next time, you guys, I'm out of here. Peace.